Welcome to the Canby Planning Commission meeting on Monday, October 25th, 2021. If you would give me a few minutes, we'll have an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Lord, bless us all. Thank you for getting us here tonight and give us the wisdom to make a good decision on these matters tonight. Now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
and
with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'm Vice Chair Larry Boatwright. I'm sitting in for Chair Savory tonight, and we'll start with the consent items. A, Canby Beer Library, DR 21-06, final findings. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second that.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so that does pass. Any input on non-agenda items from the citizens of the? Do we have anybody that's called in to speak on anything?
No, we do not.
Okay, new business, and this is a public hearing. The matter presently before the hearing body requires a public hearing. All interested persons shall be heard on the matter. If you wish to testify on any matter, you are first required to contact the secretary no later than 3 p.m. on the day of the Planning Commission meeting to request a Zoom invite to the virtual meeting. For longer presentations, proponents and opponents may buy time from one another. In so doing, those either in favor or opposed may allocate their time to a spokesperson who will represent the entire group. You may be limited by time for your presentation. The applicant will have a total of 15 minutes to speak. Proponents will be allowed 5 minutes each, and opponents will be allowed 5 minutes each. The applicant will then have 10 minutes for rebuttal. All questions must be directed through the chair. Any evidence to be considered must be submitted to the hearing body for public access. All written testimony received both for and against shall be summarized by staff and presented briefly to the hearing body during the staff report. Testimony and evidence must be directed toward the applicable review criteria
Recording in progress.
Contained in the, I lost my place. The applicant will have a total of 15 minutes to speak. The proponents will be allowed 5 minutes each, and the opponents will be allowed 5 minutes each. The applicant will have 10 minutes for final rebuttal. All questions must be directed through the chair. Any evidence to be considered must be submitted to the hearing body for public access. All written testimony received both for and against shall be summarized by staff and presented briefly to the hearing body during the staff report. Testimony and evidence must be directed toward the applicable review criteria contained in the staff report and a comprehensive plan or other land use regulations which the person believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue may preclude appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. At this time, I would like to ask that if any member of the hearing body who has a conflict of interest, please indicate the nature and extent of the conflict and whether you intend to participate in or abstain from the hearing, the present matter of the hearing. Commissioner Mills, do you have a conflict?
No conflict.
Commissioner Padden?
Dr. Perman is my dentist, but considering this is not pertaining to his office, I do not feel that is a conflict, but I just wanted to let folks know.
Okay, Commissioner Hutchison?
No conflicts, thank you.
Commissioner Hebe?
No conflict, Chair.
I have no conflicts either. Also, if any member of the hearing body has had any ex parte contact with anyone prior to this hearing, including a visit to the site, please declare the nature and extent of such contact at this time. Does anybody have any ex parte contact?
This is Jason. I did drive by the site today.
Thank you, Jason. Does any member of the audience have any questions for any commissioner regarding ex parte contact or conflict of interest? Doesn't sound like there's any problem there. Okay, the public hearing will be conducted as follows. Staff report, questions, if any, by the hearing body or staff, and will open for public hearing and testimony, and the applicant will get not more than 15 minutes, proponents not more than 5 minutes each, opponents not more than 5 minutes each, and then a rebuttal by the applicant, if needed, not more than 10 minutes. Then we'll close the public testimony, have questions, if any, by the hearing body, then a discussion by the hearing body, and all decisions shall be made by the hearing body at the close of the hearing, or the matter will be continued to a date certain in the future. This will be the only notice of that date you will receive. Does anyone have any questions about the procedure of this hearing? All right, no questions. Then we'll go to the public hearing on the Colima Construction Office Building, City File DR 21-08. Brianna, I believe you have that report.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. Okay, can you all see that? Wonderful. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. October 25th already, Planning Commission. We're here to discuss the Colima Construction Office Building. Here is the subject property. It's located at 1568 Southeast 3rd Court, here in the corner of the private cul-de-sac. It is approximately 0.37 acres. It's currently undeveloped, similar to other lots in the area, and it does abut the logging road trail on the backside of the property. Here is the area zoning. It's a commercial manufacturing zone. The entire cul-de-sac here is, as well as the properties to the northwest. We have an R2 high density zone across the logging trail. So not technically abutting, but it is very close. Its proximity is very close. And then we have light and heavy industrial to the south. And just a quick note that this is not in the industrial area overlay. It is just across the trail from it. Here's the proposal from the applicants. It includes a 2,750 square foot office building, 15 parking spaces when 6 are required, 46% landscaped when 15% is required. You can tell, especially by the kind of the shape of the lot, it does lend itself to some nice landscaping. The access easement to the logging trail will be retained. And they did provide a TIS trip generation count of 37 daily trips into this private cul-de-sac. And it was actually determined at the pre-application stage that a full traffic study or further traffic study would not be required because this threshold is so low, under even the lowest 100 daily trips, that would trigger further study, as well as the fact that it's on a private cul-de-sac. Here are the applicable criteria for the application. It's pretty straightforward site development here. We're looking at parking, the standards of the CM zone, and our site and design review standards. Here's kind of a graphic summary of the proposal. Now, you can see the proposal does meet all of the dimensional standards. And here is one elevation of the final product. They do have 4 different materials on there, and they do meet the design review matrix thresholds of 43 and 13 LID points. We received comment from Direct Link Public Works, Canby Utility, and Canby Fire, and all of those notes are included In the packet materials, generally services and utilities are available subject to those comments that those agencies did provide. In terms of public comments, we received 2, one from Donald Perman and one from Trent and Debbie. Oops, sorry about that. I can't see their names because I'm looking at all the Warren. Thank you, Trent and Debbie Warren. They were concerned with the vehicles parking on Southeast 3rd Court and accessing the logging trail. They also provided evidence that in the past, the CAT buses would park there on their breaks, just as sort of a secluded area where I guess, they probably felt comfortable sitting in their cars because it's just a quiet area. In specific response to these public comments, staff did do research on the development of the subdivision, the Redwood Professional Village. A bike and pedestrian access easement has been placed over the entirety of Southeast 3rd Court, and it does allow the public to traverse over the private street. So access is granted to the public to access that logging road. Parking enforcement specifically is the responsibility of the mutual private owners of the street, and that is outlined in the Redwood Professional Village Owners Association document established in 2003. There is a set of CC&Rs that's recorded with the county, and it does not technically have to be enforced by the city. We just need to require that it exists, and that allows the private owners to govern themselves. And again, the street was knowingly built below city standards, both dimensions and materials. And we cannot take ownership of the street without, a potential major modification to reconfigure the street, if that would even be possible. It would be quite a process. And so if all of the owners collectively wanted to pursue that, it would start with a pre-application and we would go from there. It's not directly related to the Kalima office building. Here are the conditions of approval. They are pretty standard. There are more in the staff report, but just to point out a few. To coordinate with Parks and Public Works to retain or reconstruct the existing bench and bollards along the walking path. We will require erosion control and grading permits, Clackamas County building permits, and we will do a pre-con meeting to make sure everything is squared away before they break ground. And with that, staff does recommend that the Planning Commission approve application DR 2108, subject to the conditions of approval provided in the staff report and this presentation. And I'm happy to take questions.
Any questions, commissioners? Okay. I think was there a question?
No, I was going to say, it seems fairly straightforward to me.
Okay. Well, I think we can probably go to the applicant then, Brianna.
Great. We had AKS on the call. Oh, there they are.
There we are.
There they are.
Great. We have a short graphic presentation, so I'm going to try to share the screen with you. There we go. All right. So wanted to thank Vice Chair Boatwright, the other members of the Planning Commission, and staff for your participation this evening. My name is Jackie Herb with AKS Engineering and Forestry, and our address is 12965 Southwest Herman Road, Suite 100, Tualatin, Oregon 97062. We are here on behalf of the property owner and applicant this evening. We've prepared the land use application you have before you. This is the team involved with the project. Kalima Construction is both the property owner and applicant. Studio B7 has provided building design services, and our firm has provided a variety of different services for this project. Brianna did a really great job, a thorough presentation. I feel like you guys already know where this is at, so I'm going to try to keep it brief. But as she mentioned, the project is adjacent to the Malala Forest Road Trail, and it's just south of Pacific Highway, and it has a commercial manufacturing zoning designation. This application is for site design review for a future office building, which are permitted in the CM zone. This is a little more colored site plan to show you a little bit of what is planned for the project. We've got a 2,750 square foot office building. We have on-site parking both for vehicles and bicycles. We have a enclosed trash and recycling facility. There's existing pedestrian connections. There's something that's to the north of the property, the pedestrian access that's at the end of the cul-de-sac that connects to Malala Forest Road Trail. And then this project will include a sidewalk that leads from the cul-de-sac up to the building entrance, and then an extension of the sidewalk on Southeast Third Court on the western portion of the property. It has an extensive amount of landscaping, an on-site rain garden for stormwater management, and then a private open space area for the employees to use. She went through the design standards already with you. As you can see, this project meets the required design standards for this type of a project. And again, these are just more details with regards to site design review and how we meet the points that are required to get through the design review menu, get approval of the design review menu matrix. And then finally, we have an artistic rendering of the building. You can see it's a 2-story building with wood and masonry and glass, and it's pretty similar to the surrounding buildings. And that's it for our presentation. We appreciate the opportunity to present to you, and we can answer any questions you may have.
Did any of you commissioners have a question for her?
This is Commissioner Patton. I have a quick question. In the packet, it was mentioned that some of the other resident or other businesses in this park have had problems with folks parking in their parking lot to use the forest road. Do you plan on putting up any post like signs specifically mentioning that that is not the purpose of your parking lot?
We could put those up if it becomes a problem.
Okay.
I don't know that. I feel like some of them might be using it on the weekends when they might not be there, but if it becomes a problem, they will want to have that property kept clear.
Okay. Yeah. That was something that was mentioned in the packet. And so I just wanted to make sure to see if you had planned to do it, or, if it would become a problem, to make sure that you do that so that it doesn't become a problem, essentially.
Yeah. We hadn't planned to, but we absolutely can if it does become a problem.
Okay. That is all I had.
Thank you.
Okay, well, do you have any proponents to speak on this proposal? Don or Brianna, any proponents?
I should stop share.
No, sir.
Any opponents?
No, not on the call.
There was a gentleman that was on the Zoom call earlier, Laney. Was he for this project?
That was Simon, and he is actually representing Kalima Construction.
Oh, so okay, so
He's still here.
did he have anything he wanted to say?
No, and actually, I don't. I'm with Kalima Construction, but I don't. AKS is representing our company.
Okay, thanks then. Well, then I don't think you'll need a rebuttal, will you? Okay, guess not. All right, I'd like to close the public testimony at this time. And if there are any questions by any of the commissioners, now's the time to ask them. I'll start with you, Commissioner Mills.
Mr. Vice Chair, I don't have any questions. This is a fairly straightforward project, I believe. I'll be voting for it.
Great. Commissioner Padden, did you have any more questions?
I did just want to throw out there, historically this, Dr. Perman has bringing this street into the city for many years now. And it comes up about this being a private street. I just want to make it known that this is one of the reasons why, if I had my way with it, private streets for developments like this would be banned in the city, for this very reason. I feel bad for the situation of the people in this park, because one of the reasons I drove by the site today was to see if there were any signs that were up posting this as being private property, or that this is a private street and that parking is not allowed for the logging road. And there are no signs saying to people that they cannot do that. So I don't know if it's possible for the city to maybe work with these folks and the other folks that are in that park to maybe get some signage up to make it clear that if they don't want people parking there, they should put up signage saying that they shouldn't be doing that. So that was the only thing that really kind of came to my mind, as my suspicion is that more will be coming to this park, and this will continue to be brought up, and anything that we can do proactively to help kind of remedy this as much as we can, because we cannot take the street in, I think would be great for those folks. And that was all I had.
Commissioner Hutchison.
Looks like a very nice property. I intend to vote for it. I think people who come to this development later are going to be sad they didn't act sooner.
Commissioner Heave.
Yeah, I like the project. I plan to vote in favor of it, and I think it's nice of the company that they're actually working to retain access to the hiking trail through there, and appreciate the continuation of public access, even though it is a private street. And I hope it never does become too much of an issue where they do have to put up no parking signs. But well, I guess we'll see how it goes. So.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Boatwright. We've been over this before. I think when Dr. Trent built his office building there, Dr. Perman had mentioned that it was a private street. And I think he's talked to the city about taking it over. But like Brianna says, it doesn't meet the standards of the city, so they would have to repave it probably. And I think that would be crazy for them to do that. There is room for other projects in that site. It's right next to the logging road, and I walk through there often when I do the logging road trail. There's really no park in near there. It's just the logging road trail. And I think as far as the no parking goes, I don't know if the city, I don't think the city has anything to do with that. And they could, I've seen signs around other parking lots and stuff saying this is a private parking area and you'll be subject to being towed, but that would be up to the owners of the street. That's just what I believe. And I do think this is a nice looking project that's going to be built here, and I too will be voting for it. So is there any other discussion with the hearing body other than what we've just gone through?
I have a question.
Okay.
Is the easement for pedestrian access, that's for pedestrian access only, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's for
Yeah.
pedestrian and bicycle access.
Right. Bicycle. All right. Do we have a motion on this project?
Mr. Vice Chair, this is Commissioner Mills. I move that we approve DR 2108 pursuant to the conditions of approval identified in the staff report in section 4 of the staff report.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Yeah, I'll second.
All right, then all in favor say aye.
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 All right.
Any opposed? All right, then It passes. Let's see. So it's the Kalima Construction Office Building City File DR 21-08 passes. Do we have any new business?
Commissioner Boatwright, I have some items of interest that I was going to touch on when you're ready.
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay. Just a few items just to come that'll be coming before you that I wanted to touch on. November 3rd, there will be a joint work session with Planning Commission and City Council regarding food carts. Again, this is round 2, and this will be defining procedures. It'll start to get into some parking issues that we are making some recommendations on. We're not going to have specific detail on code. It's more of a framework. We will start touching on those elements, though, that you folks in the City Council spoke on previously about design elements for food carts. So we'll have individual food carts, and then pods will be the two that'll be the categories we'll touch on. So more to come. That's November 3rd at 6 p.m. On that discussion. And then we're hoping to get a green light to move forward to get code back to the Planning Commission first and then the Council. On November 8th, we do have one item that will be coming before you for Okata. It's another industrial area that development coming forward to you. Just wanted to mention that. We probably will have another hearing as well, another industrial item, likely November 22nd. If that doesn't happen, however, we'll end up using November 22nd as a work session. And what I would recommend on that work session is a further continued discussion of what we will discuss with you in a joint work session on November 17th, which will cover zoning framework issues. That we're looking at both near-term and long-term zoning changes to the zoning ordinance. And then also a coverage of the transportation system plan. DKS will be part of that discussion to answer questions regarding the current TSP, how that works, how individual projects are reviewed. So it's possible we may have a work session on November 22nd. If we do not have a hearing, that would be following the November 17th Planning Commission and City Council work session that we would have. I did want to touch on a few things on the zoning framework just as a prelude, and this doesn't need to be a full discussion tonight, but just in terms of near-term items that we're seeing for code changes that would be coming before you. One of those would be having further clarification on remands. Our code is not very clear on that, where council remands things back to the Planning Commission. We also would definitely like to change the order for public hearings. Many times staff almost becomes the applicant, and the applicant should really go first. That's pretty much universal throughout the Portland metro area. I think we may be the only jurisdiction that I know of where we go first and before the applicant. And sometimes that goes on for some time. And rather, it's usually typically about a 3 or 4 minute intro by staff in most jurisdictions, and followed by the applicant. And then there's questions that staff would be responding to versus, a 40-minute plus presentation on these really pretty major projects that are coming forward to you. And then food carts obviously is one that we'd like to, bring forward to you. Probably as well as boundary line adjustments. We're treating them as type 2s, and we think they probably should just be type 1s. And then a larger topical issue is fences, which I think is going to take some time to address. Fences being most significantly focused on what's the limits are on corner lots for the height of those fences. And that's somewhat of a problem at this point in terms of compliance with, not everybody's complying with that standard, but on corner lots in specific. Longer term issues, I just wanted to bring you up to speed on some of these items that are longer term are going to require other things to happen before we get to those longer term items. For example, we have several grants right now that we are working on the scopes of work for from the Department of Land Conservation and Development. We will be receiving funding for housing needs analysis and housing production strategy. That's about $100,000 that we'll be receiving grants from the state on that work. That'll be happening over the next year. That will set up our baseline for housing needs for 20-year horizon. It will also define where we need to provide housing and the type of housing. So if we do make any changes to the residential codes, we would like to make sure that we go through the housing needs analysis and housing production strategy first before we do that, because that will define those issues. Similarly, we have another grant we're applying for, and we're negotiating with DLCD on the amount of that grant. We should be getting some funding. They just called today. We're hoping to get all of it, but it sounds like we're going to have to negotiate. And that's going to be for commercial and industrial areas. And also, again, buildable lands analysis. How much land is left that's available for industrial development? How much do we need for a 20-year horizon? And we're also hoping that we can have a retail market analysis as part of that work as well, which would focus on the downtown area. So both downtown retail market analysis as well as the industrial area. So both of these things are important if we're going to look at any changes to the commercial and industrial zones. And then part of that will lead into the comprehensive plan update that I'm hoping we would start about this time next year, which would then look at land expansion areas, urban growth boundary expansion areas in particular, which I believe will be completely able to justify given the fact that large annexation areas are coming into the city. And those are some of the last lands that the city has available. And so those are being kind of consumed. We still have some that have not come in, but those are also in discussion as well. So more to come on that. We'll have a little more deeper dive on the 17th for of these items on the framework. But just to give you kind of a prelude, I know there's questions on the transportation system plan as well. And if there's a need for another work session beyond the 17th with DKS, I'm happy to bring them on board. I do think there's some misunderstanding, perhaps, and some confusion around how they're doing their work. And I'm hoping that will provide some clarity to that. And that's really, I'm going to leave it there for you guys. If you want to have a discussion around these items tonight, I guess the one item I would ask for is that there are near-term low-hanging fruit in the zoning code that you would like us to look at. We're happy to include those in our list.
Wow, you got your hands full, don't you?
There's a lot, because part of it, the challenge here is that we, as a city, we've done some good long-range planning in the past, but some things have really been delayed. The comprehensive plan is 37 years old. It's 1984. And I know it says 2019 on the cover, but when you look at the detail, the horizon is 2000. So we have to do some pretty significant updates to our code, our comprehensive plan and our code. And then also the housing needs, ironically, is coming along at a nice time. There's a lot to do, but it's a nice segue when you have your buildable lands information fresh for both residential and employment lands. That doesn't always happen. And then you can immediately go into your comp plan and look at the expansion areas that you would need in your city. So, I put a lot out there, but if you guys have questions on that, and I know that there'll be a continuation of discussions as well. Commissioner Padden and Commissioner Savory and I plan to meet as well for some additional discussion on items this could be part of that, or there could be other items as well.
Commissioner Mills, do you have any questions for Don?
No questions at this time.
Do you have any, Jason?
I do have a couple things. One that's kind of been nagging at me for the last few months. And because you mentioned the industrial park, it popped into my head and I remembered again. I don't know who is responsible for the industrial park entry sign, but the red vinyl on the C in the CIP has been peeling off and it looks horrible. I'm not sure if it can be added to somebody's list to tidy that up because it just looks unsightly.
Gotcha.
One of the things, and this will come as part of our meeting, one of the things I really want to get down to the bottom of is it seems like a lot of these plans that the city is supposed to be using and working from, there is a time frame in when, you know, the plan is supposed to be out 10 years, but really 3 years before the plan sunsets, you should be working on the next one. To me, it seems like that has not happened. And so I would like to get a better understanding of what those thresholds are as far as when you are working with the current plan and when you start to revamp the plan for the next cycle. And then I was chatting with the mayor the other day, and apparently over the course of several years, there was a list created of various anomalies in the code that council and other people had said should be looked into. He said that this list had been sent to the planning department or to somebody at the city, and I wanted to see if you or anybody there is aware of this list. And if not, I would like to know, because I will hound Brian to try and find this list.
And so Commissioner Patton, I do know that there was discussion about there were prior sessions that were discussed where some code changes were made. That may be what was referred to. Not all of that got completed. So that, well, let me see what I can find. Let me circle back with you. It's possible that's buried in our computer file system, but I would love to have that as well, because that would help us prioritize. I think there's a pretty large sweeping update of the zoning development code. I mean, I think we're talking about when we do the long-term stuff, we're probably going to need consultant help to do that. I mean, this is a pretty substantial undertaking, and I think it probably will end up also addressing public work standards as well, possibly. I mean, I don't know how far that's going to go, but I'm guessing it could be holistic. But in the near term, thank you for that, about the list. And let me see what I can do to find that, and I'll circle back with you.
Okay, and likewise, I will reach back out to Brian. I believe he had said that I can't remember who originally had started this sort of list that was on council. They're not on there now, but I will reach back out to him to see if he has found it and if I can obtain a copy of this as well.
That would be great. And that's the timeliness of that is good. I think, you know, what I'd like to do is, if there's stuff that we can get through with PCCC that's not hugely involved and determinant on other things, studies that we need to do, that we go ahead and start putting those through Planning Commission as the first lens. You guys make tweaks and recommendations, get those to City Council. And there are a number of them, and I mentioned those earlier. There could be others that get added to that, and that'll probably be something this happens over time. And then the long-term stuff is much bigger, and it's gonna have to reflect other studies, and some of the comp will have to be into the comp plan to some degree to really finish those off. That's kind of the long-term vision, another 20-year vision for the city.
Okay, and then I guess the last thing I had kind of jotted down here was when we go into these work sessions, it seems like we really try to cram as much in as possible, and it doesn't seem like we get very much done because we're kind of just glancing off of all of the items just a little bit. So I would really like to see, whether, as I had said before, maybe some nights on one of our normal meeting nights, in order to kind of divide this up in more manageable chunks, that, you know, we have a joint work session on our meeting night as well as the city council meeting night, or something along those lines, to kind of help, you know, get this stuff moving so that it just doesn't keep backing up and we're only just sort of brushing on the top of the layer of all of these things.
Great point. And I think that, and I will run that by Melissa on the council joining the PC. I do know it's hard getting on their agenda to be, it's not, I'm not providing that as an excuse, but it's sometimes difficult to get on there. And so that's part of the challenge that we have.
Well, I get on there by showing up at the citizens input area. So I suppose if we all wanted to show up at a citizens input, what are they going to do?
Okay.
Sean, if you're listening when you with the recording, just beware.
So
That is all I had.
thank you. No, all good points. Yeah.
Commissioner Hutchison, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to everything coming down the road. I've been reading more about what ODOT has plans for the tolling situation, and I'm interested to work with the traffic engineers and get to understand how that's going to affect our community more. And I'm kind of interested in digging into the comprehensive plan a little bit. I think that's some interesting business, and that we're kind of on the cusp of a lot of change, and this is an excellent time for us to be gathering as much data as we can and freshen up all of our plans. I think Canby's been kind of moving kind of slow for a long time. And then just the last few years, all of a sudden, we seem to have hit a different point in the curve. And I look forward to watching it all happen.
Commissioner Hebe.
No, I think I'm just looking forward to some of these joint work sessions. I'm interested to see how this food cart thing comes together.
All right. Well, I have a question, Don, and that's, do we vote on final findings tonight?
No, we actually have moved those so that the final findings we'll have a chance to write those up. The next PC meeting, you will be voting on those, and that's pursuant to our code. And part of that is written in a way because sometimes we don't always know what those are. And I know we've kind of gone back and forth over the time on that, but in talking to Joe, our legal counsel, he said, really, we're supposed to do those once they're written, and we really can't write them and do them at the same hearing. So it'd be the next hearing.
All right. Well, I think that's everything then. Does anybody want to make a motion for adjournment?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All approve, say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Anybody? All right. Well, thanks everybody for showing up tonight, and we'll see you next time. Is that the 3rd, Don?
No, it'd be the next time will be the 8th, November 8th.
Yeah, but we do have a work session, right?
That's correct. The 3rd.
Yeah. On the 3rd, there's a work session.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yes. I'm sorry. We will see you on the 3rd. Yeah, I was looking at the PC hearing. You're absolutely right. We'll see you on the 3rd.
All right, then. Thanks, everybody.
Okay,
Good
thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Night.
Good night.